Hi, welcome to the garden. And once again, you see another shiny face with me who's come to visit me in the garden. I'd like you to meet Kelly Barnes. Kelly is a viewer who sent me an absolutely gorgeous item that she made that she was inspired by seeing my grids. And let's see. Oh, here it is. This is what she came up with. And you explain what it is, Kelly. I'll leave it up here so people can see it.
Okay, well, I kept shopping for a grid on the internet for a pattern that I would like. And this one just kept coming back, and I kept telling myself that's not really a grid. And finally, I decided it was my grid. So I had some crystals, and then I went shopping to our local rock shop in Paducah and shopped for crystals. I had a hard time deciding on those little ones, but I finally picked petersite for those. And most of the crystals I wanted to choose, I want to be able to talk to my spirit guides, and I feel like I need help with that.
It's very pretty. And you have a wand.
Yes.
And that's just a quartz. Is that just quartz sliver?
It's the selenite.
Oh, selenite. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's the pink stone that's at the entry?
That's rhodonite. And I felt like when I was done, I wanted to come back to ground. And so I picked a grounding stone.
That's a great one. Okay. One of the things that, can you see my little pointer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kelly, one of Kelly's questions to me was, how do I fire up a grid like this? She's seen sort of my fire up things, but she was like, what do I do with this one? So what I would do is I'd start here and I'd go to the first little stone, then I go back and with your wand,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just touch each stone with whatever intentions you have in mind, whatever phrase seems appropriate to say at that point in time. And you're going to have a long evening, girl. You get to go, you get to go all the way out to here. Then I would spiral the energy back in, back to my center, back to my center. Then I'd say center out, center out, center out. And I'd do that until I finally felt inclined to touch the last stone. And then I'd say it's done. And it should, by that time, you should be feeling energy going wah, 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 wah off of that.
Okay.
That makes sense to you?
That's exciting. Yes, it does.
So this is a Fibonacci. It's that golden mean, that idea of the spiral. And okay, stop share. We're back. Fibonacci is very, very famous. It's called the golden mean. It's used in all sorts of architecture and art to keep things balanced. I think you're moved to do it. I think, but there actually are. I have several books of grid ideas, grid patterns that I look at when I get to a point where I need to figure out how to balance things out. And there is a spiral. And it looks very much, I mean, like yours, except it's tighter at the center, but it spirals out. There's also a trilogy of spirals where they kind of, there's like, they're balanced. And then there's 3 arms that are all spirals. I mean,
okay, I think I
you know what I'm talking about? It kind of looks like a Celtic knot, but
yeah,
not
I was going to say, I've seen it in the Celtic rune kind of stuff.
Right. So those are all, I mean, and guys, go for it. I mean, I was so excited. It made me so happy. I cannot tell you. I sent it to several of my close friends that sort of are my sounding boards and said, look at the pretty thing this lady made. Watch my channel. And, you know, obviously you have a lot of skills and a lot of abilities with art. You made the brown spots that the stones are on. That's not on wood. How did you do that?
I got a burning tool, which I'd never done before. And so I started burning those spots. And then with the middle one, I actually dug out the wood and placed the stone in there. I had dreams of doing that with all of them, but on some of the, like the rings of the wood, it's very hard to get it right in there and carve it out. So
what what is the wood that it's on?
It is sassafras.
Oh, have you ever tasted sassafras roots when they're little seedlings?
I think maybe I've had like sassafras syrup, but I don't think I've had
It's where root
roots.
beer comes from.
Right.
That's the flavor of root beer. Yeah. It's cool because when I used to go to summer camps, we used to dig up the saplings in the forests of Michigan. Okay, my other question is, people are going to see this lovely grid and they're going to go, I want that. It's kind of what happened to me. I want that.
Mhm.
Are you going to be selling these, or what is your thought process at this
I
time?
might. I've got some friends of mine that want one, and I'm going to try to talk with them and get to know what they're looking for in the crystals and see if I can come up with something creative for them and not just keep copying this one I made for me.
Right.
So we'll see if I can do that. I don't know yet. I've always just kind of made crafts for myself. I've never really sold them. So, and I kind of feel like I bought myself some tarot cards and I
Mhm.
tried them and I felt like I don't know what this means at all. But then I might know someone else, like my son's girlfriend. I said, I think you would be really good at this.
Mhm.
And for him, I got interested. When I first got interested in all this, it was the remote viewing.
Okay.
And I felt like I could never do that, but he could. I feel like I can pick the people who will be good at the things that I'm
Yeah.
so interested in. But because I've just felt like I don't have any of these abilities, but they're so interesting to me.
Well, part of it is, first of all, I'm going to tell you two things you said. First of all, you're not going to try to get with these people. You're going to get with these people. You're going to decide if that's the direction you want to move in. Try is a word I don't like. Try implies, I'm going to try and throw this down. I'm going to try and throw this down. But when you throw it down, it's down, right? If you're trying, it's
Right.
just up here in your hand going nowhere. And the other thing is, you don't make crap. You just make things that interest you. Now, they may not be of incredible value to anybody else, and they may want to call it crap, but I never refer to anything that I do, or do I want anyone who's around me to say it's crap, because everything's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did
you
I say
learn.
that?
Yes, you did. You said I'm
Oh,
making a lot of crap. I was
oh,
making a lot of crap. And then,
oh, I think I said crafts.
oh, crafts. Okay,
Oh,
good.
crafts,
I'm glad.
but they're all for me. No, I don't.
I was going to say, huh?
No. No, I like everything I make, and I love the art, the process of making things.
Yes.
And my grid took me like a month and a half to make. Well, I have another job also, but
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. So each step seemed like I was learning a whole new thing.
You were channeling in, and by the way, you do remote view because you pulled that in.
I
You
hope
pulled it in
so.
from another level. Yeah, I mean, you did you do it when you feel the stones and knowing exactly how to place the stones. I spent almost 45 minutes looking at every stone on that thing and trying to identify all the
Really?
different ones that were there. Yeah, I really did, to see if I could see what pattern you'd created, and it was very obvious. It's a very personal path, and it was very
Mhm.
thoughtfully laid out. And you picked a lot of really interesting, fun stones to work with. So you must have a relatively good rock shop near you somewhere, or were those all
Yes.
yours?
And they were very nice. And he was extremely interested in this. I showed him a picture of just my stencil. And so he wanted me to bring it back in when I'm completely done with it. I showed him a picture, but I'm going to take it back in. And now he wants a painting of it to hang in the rock shop. So
Cool. Do you paint?
I don't paint, but I do know a painter. So
Okay.
I
Well,
could
good.
work on it.
The other question you wanted for me to help you do was to fire it up. Also, I want you to tell them about how we're going to hang it and what you decided to do.
Okay.
So go on, tell that story.
Oh, well, I was going to originally hang this on the wall. That was why I picked the wood piece. And then I decided by looking at it that it needs to be spun. It can't hang on a wall. So I put a Lazy Susan on the back of it, and I can sit and spin it whenever I want to. And it's It's just really thrilling to sit and spin this. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I've never thought of spinning my grids. Of course, I have real bad vestibular problems, so I'm not sure I could watch. But I think that's really cool because I could, when you were telling me that earlier, I could just feel like a spiral of energy coming up out of it and spreading around the room, just like relaxing everything, taking all that energy and putting it out. That's cool.
Yeah, and I just keep it on the end of my desk at work, and whenever I get to wanting to, I can just turn over and just spin it and watch it for a few minutes and then go right back. So it's kind of like a little relief.
Yeah. Okay. Now you said you wanted to fire it up, and I showed you what I would do. Do you want to try to fire it up?
Well, it would take a long time.
It would take a long time, but you got what my concept is. You start at the innermost point, go to the outermost point, then come back in.
Now, all these stones mean something different. So with each stone, am I looking for the intention of that stone?
No, say you empower that stone to become part of the whole. What you're doing is you're taking all those stones and you're making them into one point, one concept, one thing at the center. Most of my grids that I build have a distinct center. There are some patterns that have four different things, or there's the transition one, which is an S. And I gotta come on. Anyway, what you can do with those is they have a very different message. And in a way, yours is a transition one. I think transition's here. Okay, for those who don't remember what transition looks like, that's what it looks like. Sorry, there you go.
Oh, that's
okay.
Neat.
And the way you fire that one up is you start at the center and then go, up, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, till you get them all connected. But what that transition actually is, when I meditated on that one before I built the first one I ever built, what it is really is it's a grid that's unwinding to get back to rewind back together in a different form. And that's in essence what your Fibonacci is doing. It's creating a center of energy. It's creating what we call a vortex. But most of my grids, even when they're oddly shaped like this, have a center. And so in essence, your center is the center. You just always go back to it. But for like this is off center, but you ultimately tie them all back together. You just go out through each ring and do it. And let's see, I'm trying to think of it. I'll get it. Okay. And this change and communication change, and just the word change is the number 5, communication is the number 3. This is authority, and everything's in 3s except on the outside there's 6 points. Those 6 points are harmony, and the 3 is communication, and the 1 is the oneness that this person's bringing forward. It's blue, it's soul energy. And the message from authority is the frequency of authority reminds us that true authority is powerful and directed and realized. In other words, your power, you're directing, you're realizing, but it's receptive, wise, and loving. So it's the balance to handle authority. And
I wondered when I started this, I thought, well, I'm picking something, but Nancy Jean didn't draw a card for me. So I don't know if I'm picking right.
Well, I can do that. I can draw a card for you right now. See which one.
Well, I think the transition thing is interesting. My astrology right now says I am in a transition, and that.
What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini sun, and then the double Capricorn rising and moon.
Oh God, you've got every planet in the world going over you, girl.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you've got
crazy.
You've got an eclipse in your sun sign in June. There's a full eclipse coming up. I'm not sure we can see it. Full eclipse means somewhere in the world it's done.
Right. I mean for my sign, I guess. Personally, what does eclipse usually mean?
It brings change. It's like in the case of a lunar eclipse, the emotions block the ego. So the moon blocks the sun. That's a solar eclipse. The moon blocks the sun. In a lunar eclipse, the sun, there's no sunlight to feed the ego. I mean, the earth gets between. So it's emotions. I know that right as I was starting to do crystal grids, Dorothy Morgan pulled my name the day I built my first grid. She pulled it out of her hat and gave me a free reading. And I was not a client of hers or anything. I had happened to write her that month. She looks at all the new emails and picks one. And she picked mine that day because she's an astrologer. I tell you guys, want to know about numbers? Go to an astrologer and ask them when they did something. They always know. And so she pulled mine, and then so she did a progress chart for me. And as it ends up, because I'm so old, my son, if you know progress chart, you move one day for each year you're alive. So I'd gone from Taurus crashing into Gemini. But these eclipses, there's a set of eclipses hitting on top of where my son, my new progress son was. And she said, your life is just going to start to change. And it's absolutely the truth. I mean, it's when I started building grids, it started doing it. I mean, so you're in a change, girl. Go for it.
It says I'm changing my whole personality is what it said. And I thought, changing my whole personality, how's that possible? But we'll see.
Well,
It's exciting.
Well, if I think you're reaching out, I could just I cannot tell the people who are watching this enough. When I opened that up and I saw, she said, oh, this is something I did. What do you think?
Well, I had been meaning to send it to you, and then on the video you were you said you wanted us to make a grid. You were sending out crystals, and I thought, well, I'm just going to send her this. I don't need any more crystals. That's not why I was sending it, but I had wanted your opinion.
No, my opinion is that it is absolutely marvelous, and I cannot tell you what a sense of pride I had that I had some part in opening that part of your mind up. And that's all I ask for people that watch this channel to do. Open up your mind just a little bit, and you'd be amazed what can happen. I'm doing a session with someone later today, but one of the quotes that I want us to build our discussion on is, when the soul wants to experience something, she throws out an image in front of her and steps into it.
Nice.
And that's what I think you did. Your soul said, I want to go there. So you said, I can create this. And you just walked right in and did it. And that requires us to break away from our analytical mind. It requires us to break the patterns we've had before. You know, I can't do it. Oh, who would care? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I want people to understand, if nothing else, I care. I mean, but obviously the rest of the world does. You have people coming to you now saying, please do this. That's exactly how I started doing grids. Built my own. It worked. Showed pictures of it to people, said, hey, can you believe this works? And all of a sudden they're in line. I want one too.
Well, I can't wait to fire it up.
Well, you fire it up and, put whatever intentions you want under it. My personal choice on my first grid was prosperity and abundance for a whole I wasn't going to miss a chance at this working. So I had my family.
I've got some of that in there.
Yeah. And some close friends and some people who I really wanted to see uplifted because they've been uplifting to me in my life. Those were the people that were on that list. And great things have really come through for all of them. And then they have led me to other great things. It's like your spiral. It starts with the rock in the center. It starts little and it grows out and grows out and grows out and grows out, and it's big. Then you stop, and then you can spiral back into the center, and then you can grow out, grow out, grow out. You never quit growing in that field of energy. So
yeah, I'm excited to do it.
Do you have any other words of wisdom, Miss Kelly? Can they, if they write me, I'm not going to give them your email. If they want to contact you through my email, would that be okay? And then I'll forward on the appropriate ones. Trust me, you don't want the ones from the Russian pornographers.
Well, and now I know how to do Zoom, so I could actually meet with people and get to know them.
So we're going to have the Kelly Spiral Grids channel. I mean, the more people get out talking about rocks, talking about the new awakening, the happier I am.
The idea that I would be on your show on YouTube would have never came into my mind about a month ago. So.
Well, cool. Well, see, it was hiding, it was lurking in the back, springing forward to come tell you. Well, this has been
I used to run from cameras. I used to run from cameras. If someone got the old old-fashioned video camera out. They're like, "Where's Kelly?" It's like, I was under the bed, you know.
Well, yesterday I had the fun and games of going to the DMV because every 10 years in Texas, you have to go like in person and say, I really am alive.
Mhm.
And it was kind of fun because that picture that was on my old license was about 135 pounds ago.
Nice.
And I took the picture, and this time they wouldn't let you wear your glasses. You had to take your glasses off.
Mhm.
I mean,
Hmm.
I don't, Kelly will tell you, she saw it. It's pretty scary. My glasses hide a whole lot. But I took my glasses off and I took the picture and I was looking at it. I brought it home and my daughter said, you do look just like grandma. You look
Yeah.
so much like your mother. My mother never got overweight. She was always sort of skinnier. And I looked at it and I went, holy shit, I've stolen Helen's face. Damn.
The older I get, the more I look like my mother.
Yeah.
Also.
But the good thing was that the guy was like, I was sitting there all perky and he was like, he said, this is your old license, right? I mean, I've changed that much.
Right.
And I was, when I used to go before, I was like, can we take this with a brown sack over my head and I'll just put it up if I ever get stopped? And they won't let you do that.
No.
But it was lovely. I went in tomorrow, the state of Texas opens up again for everything. All state offices have to be run like they used to be. And what's been happening during COVID, you had to make an appointment. You were sent a time to be outside. They walk you in a door.
Yeah.
And if you're senior citizens, they have a door for us, and so I was there right at 4:30. They walked me right in. I got sat in this, everything's very spacious and open. They checked my paperwork in. By 5, it was exactly 5 o'clock when they were taking my picture and doing all the rest of the stuff. We do have some rather exotic, you have to prove who you are things. I happen to have a birth certificate, which I've had to get a passport if I ever do that. But they wanted my social security card and I'm like, I haven't seen that sucker in so many years, man. So I brought in my social security statement. This is how much money you're going to make in the next year, which has a number on. Like I said, it's fine. He said I'd have taken it with the license and everything else, but but I was in and out, didn't, everything was distanced, everything was fine. And there were people banging on the door saying, this state's supposed to be open, let us in. And there were like 20 people. What's wrong with you? I mean, that's why my birthday's in a couple weeks, but I went and got it done early because I didn't want to end up. The DMV was sort of like a bad Greyhound station for most of Texas.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go there again. So I'm just saying.
Well, I'm counting down the days till I get my second shot on the 21st.
Really?
So yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I got my first shot in January because I had a melanoma that was not systemic, but I have a really aggressive dermatologist. And I got a phone call, a text, and an email from them that said, they're opening up your group. This is the best place to check in. Within 15 minutes, I was checked in. I was in getting the shot the next day. And that was way early. I mean, it was Pfizer hit. Well, Dallas has a large medical center, has a lot because of the med school and a lot of other stuff. So the meds have been here. My son, who's 30, who does have an underlying condition, but he's already had both his shots. I mean, and I really grieve for friends in other parts of the country. And I feel so badly for my friends. My parents were Canadians. I have friends in Canada and they're just locked up in their houses.
I know. I'm hoping in a couple of weeks it opens up for them and they can get the vaccine.
Yeah, well, they didn't manufacture it and their government didn't invest in creating it. So,
Right.
I mean, I have a certain understanding of it, but I think Biden's going to do it in a way that will.
Yeah, I think we'll end up helping them.
Yeah, we have to, because it's just I mean, there's hospitals in Detroit that are understaffed for nurses because their nurses, a lot of them live in Canada because it's just across the bridge.
Right.
That's actually where my parents came from, the other side of that bridge. And
I was born in Canada, in Ontario.
Oh, really? Okay, where?
Hamilton.
That's where my mother's from.
Get out of here.
No
one's ever
kidding.
heard of Hamilton.
You know where Walkerton is? The little town of Walkerton near Hamilton?
No, I don't.
That's exactly where she was born, it was in Hamilton. My father grew up in Kincardine, which is in
Well, I was only there until I was about a year and a half,
Okay,
and then
see.
we moved to Turkey. So I've been all
Oh, well,
over the
that's,
Philippines and Turkey, and
oh,
so
cool.
mhm,
Well, cool. A fellow Canuck. What can I say?
yeah, I feel like a Canuck.
I do too. I told Andrea of Lilac Lanterns in Burlington, and she and I were talking, and she's like, I want to get out of my house so bad. And I'm like, yeah, we all do. Although all the cards I keep reading for the next 6 months is things are really going to open up.
Hermit, so it hasn't bothered me a bit. Most of my family likes to stay in the house and do things,
Mhm.
and we don't need a lot of other people. So we've been just, it seems kind of like normal.
Well, it's created a whole new world for me. And I used to be out in a wine bar and in a vintage store, wine bar one night a week, in the vintage store 3 days a week. And so that's when I was out with people, but it's not like I was bringing them home to raise, not like when I was younger and I had a house full of people and a house full of other stuff. And my youngest son's an introvert. He just as soon stay in his room and play with his computers all day long.
Same here.
My daughter's good with people, but she really needs her downtime. So for us, it's not been that horrible. But for my son, who's raising 2 kids, I went to visit him for St. Patrick's Day, and he came out the sidewalk and he said, Mom, don't be upset with me. And I said, why? And he said, the kids went feral 2 months ago and we don't know what to do. You know, and he's not kidding. I mean, they've changed in significant ways that show their response to not having friends and people their own age and their own
Yeah.
energy level to bounce off of. So we celebrated St. Patrick's Day, and I talked to the two of them about getting more centered because they're both really old souls and really high energy beings. And it's been really hard on them, but I think it's a lesson that they're learning from. But
It's been hard on my youngest.
Yeah, I look on my son's face, Mom, they went feral. I'm not sure we're ever getting back. They're homeschooled and they're up to date on all their schooling, but they're just.
Yeah, we're homeschooling too, and I've had to learn physics. And I said I stopped at geometry, so I'm learning physics at 50.
Yeah, my second husband was a physicist, and the one course I dropped in high school was physics. I was just like, I'm not going to make a truck drive across a bridge, and I don't care if the pier beams hold it up. I don't care, So why the hell am I sitting here doing this? I want to go back to my theater, which is what I did. But Bill was explaining. Well, it's another long story, but he always said what I could do was in the world of quantum mechanics, and until the day he died, he was in the books, in the quantum mechanics books. And he told me, he said, this is where we're going to find out where your energy comes from. He said that we're going to have a shift where people are going to understand this, because all of his science friends, and he worked at a very high level of intense research and science. This is funny. It's not funny because he was dying, but he was dying. And I said, okay, honey, is there anything you really, really regret? And he said, that damn epoxy. And I said, what? He invented the epoxy with another guy at TI so they could put microchips into space, because before they invented this epoxy, if they put a microchip into space, solar winds just burn it up. So they invented epoxy so they could put them in space. And I said, okay, honey, what's the problem with the epoxy? He said, if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have these damn cell phones. He hated cell phones.
Oh my God.
So your life legacy is, and his other one was he helped colorize LED so that we could have flat screen TVs. And when they did it and they put up the first one in the lab and showed everybody what they had, Bill said, someday people are going to hang their TVs on the wall like a picture. Everybody looked at him like he was nuts.
Well, I've been watching Star Trek for a long time, and I want one of those doors in my house that I can just put my hand up and it just slides.
Yes.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Well, anyway, this has been a delight. We've all had is there anything else you want to say to people about jumping in and trying?
Oh, definitely do it. And I don't know, I feel like the grid, it'll just grab you when you see the one that you're supposed to do. At least that's what it did for me.
And it's not people that I don't want to build your grids. If you don't want to mess with it and you want me to build it, I'm still here building grids. But I really think the experience of at least trying that on your own, even if it's a small one, it doesn't have to Don't have to cut down a sassafras tree to do it. You know, you can just
Mhm.
start small, but I'm so proud of the work you've done. I mean, it just
Oh, thank
made me
you.
feel so good. Okay. Well,
Thank you
blessings to
so
everyone.
much. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.